on February. Thank you. On February 5th, 2026 at 1:06 p.m. And we'll start off on our agenda with item number 1, which is a call to order, which I've just done, and then we'll go into roll call.
Okay. Did Jared Hickman just walk in?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Then I'll skip him and I'll come back. Chris June Kellyani.
Here.
Allison Jaffe. I can see.
Here.
Perfect. Lorena Dellinger.
I'm here.
Joni Eastley. I think she's here too, right?
She is.
Okay.
Yeah.
Eric Blakely.
Here.
Joe Krim.
I am here.
And Abigail Ferrerson is not here, and neither is Susan Bush. I know that they emailed me. Kate Thomas.
I'm here.
Angela Cook. And Justice Maupin. And then going back, Jared Hickman.
Here.
Perfect.
Great. Thanks, Casey. We have a quorum, so we'll get started. And item number 2 is public comment. So we're going to limit this to comments on items on the agenda. We're not going to take any action on a matter raised under public comment period unless it's been specifically included on the agenda. And we're going to impose a time limit of 3 minutes. Is there anyone that would like to make public comment? You can raise your hand if those online folks want to, but I don't see any hands raised. All right, so hearing no public comment, we'll move into item number 3, which is introduction of new board members and a recognition of a vacant board position.
Yeah, and I'll kick this one off. So we have 2 vacancies currently. One is David Figler's position. He joined Public Defender's Office down in Clark County, so he's no longer eligible to hold the seat. Congratulations to him, but he will be missed. We're waiting for the Supreme Court to send us an order indicating who they intend to appoint to that role. The other position that's vacant was the governor's appointment, previously filled by Ms. Fitzsimmons. We're still waiting to see who the governor appoints to fill that role as well. You've probably heard a lot of communication from our office about who and who doesn't have appointment letters and who's can finish their oaths of office, things like that. We just want to make sure we have records for everybody going forward, that we can kind of clearly articulate when terms begin and end, when we need to notice everybody for renewal, what the process is, since we have people coming from each branch of government. There's a little bit different process for everybody. So we're trying to get that documented so in the future we don't have the kind of communication struggles we've been having lately, trying to figure out who's on the board and off the board and when that happens. And then our DAGs probably going to be happier to not have to answer so many questions about what happens if, when these kinds of things occur. So thanks for everybody's assistance and cooperation in all this process. For new board members, we have Mr. Eric Blakey here with us this afternoon. I don't know if you'd like to say anything about yourself. Certainly.
Eric Blakey, Churchill County Commissioner, started in last year, 2025, and been very active roles across the state in many conferences and just everywhere. As you know, we own a phone company, so we're actively involved with that as well. So we sort of get an interior look of the private side, so it helps us make better decisions as a county. I know that our public defender's office has had some struggles getting staffed, but I think we're making some headway there. We do have a good group of people there for sure, and I'm very excited to be on this board. So we have a good voice. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah. I did want to mention I've been in touch with John Lambros, who many of you already know. We're looking to possibly providing some training for the board members, especially since we're bringing on so many new board members, about the history of, the State Public Defender's Office, the Department of Defense Services, the Indigent Defense Commission, kind of get a history of where we were and where we are and how we got there. It's certainly a long and storied history with a lot of interesting twists and turns that I think would be really helpful for new board members. I do want to mention, though she's not here, Abigail Frierson has been appointed for the second seat for Clark County's representation. She's not here today, but again, since we're going to have more board members, I think it's going to be good to have some training planned out, get everybody up to speed on what's going on and how you can best help us out.
I love that. Thank you. Welcome, Commissioner Blakey. Thank you for
Thank
your
you.
service. All right. We'll move on to approval of the minutes. That's item number 4 on the agenda, and those are from the December 4th, 2025 board meeting. I know we were sent, Casey, thank you. You sent us yesterday, I think, a copy of those minutes. Hopefully everybody's had a chance to read those. Is there any discussion from the board on the minutes?
This is Chris.
No, Madam Chair, I read those. I thought they were an accurate representation of what happened at that meeting, and I will make a motion to approve.
Thank you, Joni. Chris, you had a comment?
I was going to say I didn't see any corrections, so I'll second Joni's motion.
Thank you. We have a motion on the floor and we have a second. Is there any further board discussion? Great. All right. This is possible action, so I'll call for the vote. All those in favor of the minutes from the December 4th meeting, please say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Any opposition? All right, great. That passes those minutes from December 4th. Let's move on to some updates. We've got number 5 is the Department of Indigent Defense and our board updates. 3 items under there, A, B, and C, and we'll have Peter walk us through those, please.
Sure. I'll start with item A. We did hire a new administrative assistant too. His name is Jake Matthews. You might get emails from him from time to time. He's now serving as our primary point of contact in our both email and phone system. So we're really happy to have him on board. He's already provided such great help. It turns out that just having another person in the office makes a huge difference when we're all so busy. So really glad to welcome him aboard. I'll move kind of right into B. We do have a posting up right now for our ASO1 position. That's an Administrative Services Officer. That's primarily to help us with the kind of the billing that we've been going through. It gives us an extra set of eyes in kind of the review process. It should hopefully alleviate some of the work that me and the deputy directors do in reviewing the bills. So hopefully we have more time to kind of attend to the needs of the indigent defense attorneys that we're supposed to be working with supporting, and less time doing kind of the administrative stuff in the office. Of course, it's certainly necessary that we have to do some of that some of the time, but because of the increase in the amount of billing that we're doing and really an increased need for more accurate reviews of bills as they come in, and also an ability to better communicate with attorneys who are submitting us billing, that's going to be a real big help when we can fill that position. If any of you are aware of somebody who might be suitable for that position, please send them our way. We'd really appreciate it. For C, kind of going a slightly different direction, we've talked kind of internally like as to whether the board might consider having bylaws. Of course, it's up to the board, not up to us. It might help the board kind of have better idea of how to direct things for us during meetings. It might better kind of plan out without having to refer to the DAG every time, right? You know, can we do this? Should we do this? Do we need to accept reports? Do we need to have motions for all these things? Or can we kind of automatically receive things? And kind of how things might work if we go into the event of like having a hearing in the event there's like an appeal from a qualification, a termination or something. You can help create some guidelines for that. So if the board's interested, we can perform some more work. We can put our DAG to work. I'm sure he'd love to do that kind of stuff for us and help us out. This isn't an action item, I don't think, no. So it's just kind of for your consideration. If any of you have any particular thoughts or ideas about it, certainly love to hear those.
Great, thank you. Any questions from the board or comments on the proposal for the bylaws? Obviously, we can't take a vote on this, but we can give some general guidance, unless the DAG stops me, and in which case we'll put that in the bylaws.
No, robust discussion is always good.
Thank you, Todd. All right. Anybody, any comments?
You have a working draft or outline that you're considering?
We do, and we can provide that. So you guys have a chance to review something. And again, it's up to the board as to what kind of format they ultimately take, but yeah, we can give you some ideas. We've shopped different proposals as well. So we have one that we currently have, we can send out kind of, and we can certainly agendize it for a future meeting for a more robust discussion on it.
And is there a particular need you're hoping to address by these?
Really, it's just to make sure, since we're bringing on new board members again, and there's so many of them, that everyone kind of has a playbook to go by instead of having to, either have multiple trainings or to have, our DAG explain every time. Hopefully, it's just a time savings for everybody, and so that new board members don't feel like they're kind of behind the eight ball or having to catch up. They can come in prepared and ready to do some work.
And this is, hold on for the record, when I represented boards in the past, bylaws were a helpful way to also address those weird questions that come up, like, if somebody's being absent multiple times, how do we, what do we communicate if it's affecting quorum? At what point does that an excused absence get communicated? It doesn't actually end up coming up, but then it gives people an understanding of what they might do if they can't make it to a meeting or what might happen. So, and then also any guidance on conflict disclosure. So things that are outside the chapter. So any ethical reminders, it's not a restatement of statute. It's just pointing people to all the places they might want to look.
Yeah.
Great. I think it's great. All the boards I sit on have them, so must be some purpose, but we would love to see a draft document that gets our creative juices flowing. So I will look forward to that on a future board agenda. And obviously, if we could send those out in advance so we can look them over, so we can have more meaningful discussion, that would be helpful. Thank you. Any other board members with comments on item number 5, which is the updates from the department? Okay, I'm not hearing any, so let's move on to item number 6, which is an NRS 180.440 update, which, so 6 and 7, the way that I recall this going down is the 6 is the statute for Homa's position, 7 refers to Brenda's position, so we'll start with 6, and then which is a discussion only item, and then we'll bump down to 7, which does have some potential action, so we'll start there. Go ahead, Homa.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Homa Sayar for the record. I'm gonna, some of these will bleed into other parts of the topic. First, as an introduction, we've been looking into how best to share our updates regarding oversight. We obviously have professionals in place with experience who generate some detailed reporting that we, of course, provide to the monitor. In the past, we uploaded those kind of as a batch to board materials, but in talking and doing outreach with attorneys, that was something that was encouraged by the board late last year, understanding what might be most beneficial versus, having these things just online and crawlable. So if somebody searches an attorney's name, just sort of without context, these reports coming up, they are public records, no issues about that, but also being able to rely on the synthesis and, and support that we get from our oversight attorneys. And so, as you know, we have Derek Lopez in the north, we have David Sheik in the south, and then we have a contract sitting almost with the governor's finance office for our third outreach attorney or oversight attorney, and that is David Neidert. He is a longtime criminal defense attorney. He has a lot of presence in the counties, Lyon, Lander, those counties that were needing that assistance. He's really excited to come on board. This is also giving us an opportunity to look at our training and onboarding for outreach. Obviously, some of DIDS has been building a plane while flying, and so it gives us a chance to be thoughtful and mindful about what consistency might we see in the reporting, and we're going to start having meetings of all of us with the internally with the oversight attorneys. Just the benefit we can provide and then pass that opportunity onto the board are the larger trends. You know what I mean? It's not individually giving attorneys out, and often the oversight attorneys are intervening or having discussions or offering mentorship. On the subject of mentorship, we also have on the meeting and also contracted and has hit the ground running spectacularly is Robert Langford. He is the new Nye County Council coordinator. Administrator. Oh, so many names. And just by way of some introduction, obviously, I think what I'll do is when I get to the summary reporting, then that'll be an opportunity for him to introduce himself. But you may recall that we were going to have a January meeting regarding kind of specific concerns regarding Nye County. What we recognize, Mr. Langford came on board with his contract on December 30th. Obviously, the county plan contemplates a convening of a group that looks at those applications. That wasn't going to be feasible because, the hiring process, the solicitation process was already happening. But the county commission was really gracious in tabling their consideration of those contracts for another 2 weeks so that I was able to travel down and spend time in Pahrump. Mr. Langford, Mr. Sheik, and I observed court. We attended the meeting. We met with, commissioners. We met with board member Ms. Dellinger. And it was just really, it was intense. There was a lot that happened and that we identified and talked about, but it was very eye-opening about what the model for how best to use our oversight would be. And attorneys were so welcoming. They were so excited to have Mr. Langford coming on board with his support. He's been, just getting to know people, reaching out, having meetings. And so his position officially is under Brenda. But again, how can we interplay the mentorship role with the oversight role and then come up with meaningful resources for attorneys? And they were very vocal about what might help them. And one of the benefits of, I'll mention the Nye County Commission meeting, being there in person was really helpful because I was able, the commission had questions about a corrective action plan and whether they should be concerned. The way I characterized it, they allowed me to speak, was that it's more of a shield than a sword. It's meant to be something that helps support counties in providing this important constitutional right. It's not meant to be like a threat hanging over their heads as much as, we are here to support. They're taking meaningful steps. They added 3 new contractors, Diana Klein, James Ruggiero, and then Thomas Gibson. They did not, they had on their agenda the opportunity for 4, but they opted for 3, and there were some robust discussions about that. We were also able to have discussed somewhat on the record the phasing out of 432B cases. As you may recall, those are kind of more civil cases involving, children and families, and they are part of the contracts these attorneys all have. But we're excited that Nye County recognizes that it is a huge tax on their time. It's not well suited, and they're going to go out for contracts for those separately and then remove them from these contracts, which could achieve even a 20 to 25% increase in capacity. I know the workload study has Nye at meeting 12 attorneys worth, but they aren't quite to 12, but they are continuing to solicit. And I felt really good and hopeful about the dialogue. I felt like they really appreciated all the support and just hearing them out on the challenges that they're facing. And so that, and then also we participated in Lander County's commission meeting. We were there virtually for an agenda item regarding the stipends, the weekend stipends. Ended up staying on a little bit and finding that they were having county commissions across the board have some challenges in how they're approaching attorney contracts. I think Nye County's plan as written helps with that, which is sort of having some recommendations made. It's very hard to evaluate the quality or pricing of any service, right, without examining it. So we were able to Executive Director Handy was able to go in person for the next Lander County Commission meeting and provide them more resources. Because again, I think 99% of the time we're talking education, right? Everyone wants to do what's best. They just need the tools and information and support to do so. So we were excited to be more active and continue going out to the counties in person. And I will say, since going out there and meeting with folks, they're more likely to pick up the phone and call, and it's really nice to do that. So appreciate all the attorneys for being so welcoming. And then in the shift away from kind of individual granular reporting, I would say we did observe, and this is consistent with Mr. Sheik's reporting, because my examination of these hearings has been to watch how the oversight attorneys are taking their notes, what's jumping out at them, what could we do to make things a little easier, and also what do they handle on the ground that may not make it into a report. And so I did observe one attorney had a bench trial. Afterwards, I observed the questions that were asked of that attorney about, like, why was this strategic decision made? Why was that this strategic decision made? So even in the moment, you observe something and you might scratch your head, and then that discussion resolved it. And so it wouldn't necessarily make it into a report. So, but to the point of prior meetings, we do want to be shouting out the successes and things that people are really excelling at, and be encouraging, even while we're trying to help them make sure they have a confidential space to meet with clients, making sure they have enough time to work on their cases, making sure that if they, you know, run into an ethical question, that they have resources they can reach out to. So the theme for Nye County is we now have our council administrator who can be a resource. And then Mr. Sheik was providing a lot of those resources, and we deeply appreciate that. But there are things that he can obviously return to focusing on, and Mr. Langford can take on the rest of it. And so I will just briefly say it's on the agenda. We are also moving forward on our technical assistance contract. We also, the U.S. Digital Response is contract or scope of work is free, auditing and recommendations regarding our case management system. Every attorney and staff member I've talked to is really excited about being a participant in that discussion so that we can make anything we can do to make their jobs easier means they can be in court and meeting clients. And so I think that's something that we really have the power to do as a department. We renewed our Westlaw and Justice Text Access. So Westlaw is an important legal research tool. We extend that to attorneys as part of their participation in cases with the department. And then Justice Text just is a tool that keeps getting better and better. I had an attorney remark to me this week that what he loves in Pahrump is that he can put the audio from body cam videos through this resource that transcribes things, and it can hear things that he can't because it's so windy. And I hadn't considered that, you just hear the wind whipping. And so that was nice to hear. And I believe, they might be in attendance at the upcoming conference. And then, like I said, we have our third outreach advisor on contract. And then we also have, like I mentioned, Mr. Langford. So just a lot of administrative things, I know, but I feel like lots is happening, and we're excited about what we can do for sustainability as a department and supporting attorneys, reporting, monitoring, and all that stuff. And so what I'll do now is I'll have our summary reporting from the outreach advisors. I think that might be just to give you a flavor of what they're seeing, and then go to have Mr. Langford introduce himself because we're really excited he's on board. So I'll start with David, if you're on, David Sheik. Can't see from here.
I am on. Thank you, Homa. The Homa pretty much covered everything that I had to say about what Nye County has been doing. Robert's position is actually appointed council program coordinator. And that's a position that's been in the Nye County plan since its inception, and we finally have filled. And it's a topic that I had raised many times, and I'm very glad to have Robert on board, and you'll hear from him later. The last report from the monitor on Nye County listed several areas that needed to be addressed, and since that meeting in December when the monitor presented that report, we have addressed, or Nye County has addressed, all of those issues and has made great steps forward. The corrective action plan was never really, I think, a viable option. However, I think we got everybody's attention, and everything has moving quite quickly. As Homa said, we now have 3 additional contracts. We're up to 11. One contract is just for the northern Nye County. So we have 10 currently sitting in Nye County or in Pahrump. One more contract to be awarded, and that'll probably be on the agenda item in the next several months from discussions that happened before. The 432B case load issues that the monitor mentioned are being addressed. We've been assured that they're going to be removing the 432B provisions from the contracts, and that Nye County will be entering into a program of having contracts with individual attorneys to cover their 432B cases, not the criminal attorneys. The monitor also mentioned issues concerning discovery being available to clients that are incarcerated in the Pahrump jail. I met with the captain that's in charge of the jail. He was aware of the situation. He had read the monitor's report and had already taken steps to address it. They through their IT are getting computers accessible to the defendants so they can view the body cams and other digital information that they couldn't view after ICE left the jail. Those computers disappeared. And so those were the things that the monitor was concerned about. We've addressed, and things are really looking up in Nye County.
Thank you, David. I appreciate that. I didn't mean to step on your toes. I was with you guys, so I was sure what I saw too. And then I believe you'd gotten out to White Pine a little bit recently. I wasn't sure if that was in the cycle.
I was in White Pine County Monday of this week. Met with Patricia Erickson, who is the new senior attorney working for the State Public Defender's Office. Met with Jane Eberhardy, who is has a partial contract there in White Pine County. Also met with the judges. Things seem to be settling down with the addition of Patricia Erickson, who is a qualified Category A attorney, practiced many years in Las Vegas. I'm familiar with her and her work, and she had 8 cases on Monday morning, but I think that's a function of her assuming a number of cases from the existing council and trying to get everything caught up on calendar. Eureka County is according to Jane Eberhardy, everything is fine in Eureka County. I have nothing to add on Eureka County. Lincoln County likewise is at this point in time fairly stable. There is the possibility that our contract attorney Franklin Katschke will be running for district attorney in Lincoln County, which could cause some turnover and some changes and numerous conflicts, but we'll have to wait and see how that plays out.
Thank you, David. I appreciate it. And that reminds me, in terms of elections, we have seen some attorneys filing for various races, offices. We had a reminder sent out of kind of the ABA rules regarding how they might communicate that with their clients if they're appearing in front of judges that they have filed against. So just many of them were appreciative of the reminder, and some were already doing it. Some were getting started on that. Derek, if you are on. There you go.
Yes.
Go ahead. Thank you.
So I don't have a lot of updates with just going through them alphabetically. Douglas, I'm very pleased with the progress that they're making, and I see that Brian Filter, who is their county coordinator for DIDS assignments and supervision, they're making progress. They're doing a good job. They've added a contract with Jason Gunnell, who comes from Nye County. I had an opportunity to watch him part of a misdemeanor jury trial, and he's clearly an experienced attorney. I think, if I remember right, his experience is as a prosecutor, and he's new to the defense work, but he did a good job. In speaking with Brian, they're working on adding a 7th contract. Hopefully that'll go through, but I'm pleased with what I'm seeing in Douglas. In Elko, the public defender's office is still down positions. They're still looking for a head public defender. Stephanie Foster's filling that role on a temporary basis, and my understanding is she does not want to be the primary chief public defender, but she's performing that role as the acting public defender. And the office seems to be doing a good job. They were down an attorney because of medical reasons. That attorney is back, and I got a chance to see him just this week, and he appears that he's back healthy and doing well. With the attorneys they have, I think they're doing a good job. They're needing more assistance from the hourly attorneys from DIDS assigning hourly attorneys because they are down positions. In watching the hourly attorneys, from what I've seen, in the last couple of months, they're doing a good job. Humboldt County, the state public defender's office is still without the attorneys, and I won't go much into that because I see we've got the head of the public defender's office here who can fill us in on any progress they're making. But in the interim, the Mayo Mansfield law firm is handling the bulk of those cases. There's also hourly attorneys that are assisting. I've had a chance now to watch Massey Mayo many times in Humboldt, and she does a great job. I got a chance to see Patrick Mansfield just, I don't know if it was last week, recently, I think it was last week. And again, the volume's high, but they do a really good job with that volume. So I didn't see any problems, but it would be nice to have the public defender's office staff once that can happen. But in the interim, the Mayo Mansfield attorneys are doing a good job. I had a chance to see Nestor Marcial, who I had watched in Elko with the public defender's office there. He's now part of the Mayo Mansfield law firm. And I got a chance to see him in Lyon County, and I think I saw him in Humboldt as well on video. And he's a good attorney. He's young, but he does a good job. He meets with his clients. Things look good. With Lander County, Lander and Pershing, my last two counties, both have significantly less volume than Elko, Douglas, and Humboldt. And their primary attorneys, for Lander, it's Kyle Swanson, who has a lot of experience. Every time I've seen him, he's done a good job. I had a chance to watch him in a prelim yesterday, and a difficult case, and he did a good job. With prelims, as everybody knows, you don't often see the strategy, because a lot of defense attorneys don't want to give witnesses a dry run at the really tough questions they're going to be asked at time of jury trial. But he did highlight some issues, and he did a good job in getting detail from witnesses on the issues that I think are going to be significant when it does get to trial. So I've been pleased with what I've seen with Swanson. They do have two, so he's a contract public defender. He also does private practice. They have contracts with two conflict counsels, Deborah Amons and David Neidert. Because the volume's not that heavy, I don't see either of them very often. I've seen Deborah in the Law in Motion calendar, and she appears prepared. She's met with her clients. It looks like it's going well. With Dave Neidert, I've only seen him with one client, but I got a chance to see him do a prelim. And again, he spotted issues and did a good job in his cross-examination of witnesses to kind of highlight those issues. Pershing County, their public defender is Steve. Now I'm not thinking of his last name. It's
Evenson.
It's not Evenson. Steve
Cochran.
Thank you.
Oh, okay.
Thank you. And I just constantly refer to him as Steve, so face his last name. But he also has a lot of experience and is doing a good job. Pershing has had the changes because their DA is now the district judge, Bryce Shields, replacing Jim Shirley. And in this interim, my understanding is for a 60-day contract, Jack Bullock is now performing the duties of the DA until they can find a replacement DA. I don't know if his contract will get extended, but it sounded like, from what I've heard, I haven't spoken with him, but from what I've heard, he's doing this to assist, but he doesn't really want to be the permanent DA. So I don't know how long, if at all, beyond the 60 days, he'll continue to fill that role. Pershing does not currently have their, unless it's happened and I'm not aware of it, they don't currently have their conflict counsel on contract. So hourly attorneys are being assigned from DIDS. And again, I'm pleased to say in the last few months, I haven't seen any problems. And with Pershing, I really haven't seen any problems before then either. So I think that's going well. Again, lower volume than the other counties. And with Lyon County over the last couple months, I've been to the Fernley Justice Court, Dayton, Yarrington, and then the district courts. And the primary defense is being handled by the law firms of Mansfield Mayo and Cale Brock. Mansfield Mayo have two associate attorneys that are assisting, and I I think they're doing a good job. It's high volume, but I think they're doing a good job. And with 4 attorneys, I don't know if they've added a 5th one or not, but with the 4 attorneys, they appear to be handling that caseload. With Kel Bragg, from what I understand, he doesn't have associates working for him. He does have the assistance of 2 or 3 attorneys that he assigns them cases, but to my knowledge, there's no contract with those attorneys. The primary one he's using is Ray Eroshenko, with minor exceptions. He's doing a good job. There was, well, on the whole, he's doing a good job. He's got his heart in it, and he's young and he's learning. But I don't have a whole lot to say. I haven't seen a ton of the Lyon County courts cases. I do look forward to Dave Neidert taking that over. You know, they're working hard and making progress, I guess is how I would put it.
Thank you, Derek. And it kind of highlights the ecosystem that these attorneys are practicing in. You know, it's the DAs and the judges and the courthouses and all the other things that affect what they're trying to do every day. And so we've been monitoring all that too with the elections as well. But and then I also was going to mention we're going to shift to quarterly reporting of the information we're getting from the oversight attorneys. So that regardless of, you know, of board schedule or when the board meeting happens, you know, your March 31st report will, you know, be there and that sort of thing. And obviously providing the raw information to the monitor. I think that will also help where sometimes we identify something and then we act. And so we're able to report broader about how we resolved it. And it's not really something for the board to act on as much as to keep getting the updates that we're engaged and, you know, jumping in where we have to. And so I'm looking forward to going out to Lyon with Derek and Dave Neidert. And if you need help remembering who's assigned to what, we have David Sheik in the South, yes, and Dave Neidert in the North. And so thank you for that. And then I wanted to have Mr. Langford introduce himself and share any early observations or thoughts out in Nye County.
Hi, my name is Robert Langford, and I've forgotten the title already. So there's a lot to do in Nye County. I'm excited to do it. So more to come.
Thank you so much. And we're excited as well. So that would, and that, now obviously that was a lot. And so I don't know, I'll turn it over if the board has any questions regarding what we've covered. I will mention we did get a message from the monitor that she wouldn't be able to attend today's meeting, but that she would obviously be watching the recording and continues to receive updates from all of us. So we're appreciative of her letting us know.
This is Chris G. I have a question. It might be more for Peter. Were you able to do a survey about the electronic filing?
We don't have a survey about electronic filing. It seems like it varies a lot from county to county, and it seems to change even inside a county occasionally. We're going to follow up on that. We can add that to a future agenda item to make sure we have a good report for you on that, because it is something that we understand is a problem and can be a problem. We're also going to be doing some surveying anyways for other reasons about jail release times and release locations. So we're trying to get as many things kind of in one survey as possible so that we don't have multiple surveys going out to all of our attorneys we work with. So we're planning on kind of consolidating a few things.
And that makes sense. I just didn't want to lose that, because it seems to me that in this day and age, there should be a requirement that all courts have to provide for electronic filing. Number one. Number two, I think Joni might bring this up, but in your survey, you want to make sure that they're being provided food. So we're not dealing, so that might be a query that you add to your list, and then we can come back to that. And then just welcome aboard, Mr. Langford, and I know David Sheik is thrilled to have you on board.
Thank you. I will add that the topic of e-filing was a hot one in Nye County when we were there, and there's obviously the theory of it, and then there's implementation. And so even Judge Wonker pulled me aside and had her observations about what was going on. We had the DA mention, challenges, the commission. So we obviously offered any feedback or information or resources on the state level. And then also floating the idea of whether we should lead a statewide option, and then that way the counties wouldn't have the administrative burden, of navigating those kind of negotiations. There are a few big players in that space, but our work with U.S. Digital Response, the hope would be that any e-filing that comes in the future would have interplay with the case management system so that it would draw documents into it without someone having to, download, upload, that kind of thing. So we are keeping it in mind. So I think that's definitely a thread that we have to keep at, and that will help the attorneys.
Thanks. I'm glad that's still in the mix. Appreciate it.
This is Jared Hickman. I had a question for Mr. Sheik, and I think Mr. Langford, and welcome, Mr. Langford. I'm excited to have you aboard. I think if I recall correctly, one of the other issues the monitor raised in Nye County was the use of standby counsel, and it sounded as if it was a function more of turnover and not having enough contracts in place. But I was just wondering if you could speak a little bit about that. Whether the additional contracts have resolved some of those issues, and is it moving forward in a positive direction?
I'll answer that. Robert's new to this situation, so it'd be unfair to have him try to jump in on this.
Sure.
There has been concern expressed about attorneys covering for other attorneys on certain appearances. And what has been suggested, and I'll work with Robert on this, is coming up with sort of a schedule or a set of rules of when you can cover for somebody else. I mean, if a case is already stipulated to continue and it's just a matter of standing up and saying we've stipulated it's going to be passed to the next date, that's one thing. But if it's a sentencing or a plea or an arraignment where the defendant is invoking his constitutional rights, definitely we want to have the attorney that's representing the person present. And so we've identified some of those issues. We've identified instances where it happened in the last several weeks, and I'm sure Robert is going to be meeting with the attorneys. I think he told me he's having a Zoom meeting with the attorneys, and that's going to be one of the topics that they go over. That's sort of a thing that I think Robert needs to deal with the attorneys on, and I'll report what I see, and then Robert can deal with the attorneys on how we're going to deal with those going forward. So we are aware of that and are working on that.
Thank you, Mr. Sheik. It sounds like there's been a lot of progress, a lot of positive progress in Nye County from HOMA and your report. So I just wanted to say thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay. Are there any questions on the board? Anything else you wanted to cover, Homa, under item number 6?
No, just thank you for sharing with us. I know it's a lot of information, but really good discussion, and it always gives us an insight into what's being watched for and what we can make sure we're reporting back about. And I definitely what we envision is not just coming with the observations of problems, but presenting how we are affecting those solutions. And so even if we are observing challenges with the stand-in counsel, conflict counsel, that kind of thing, we're engaging with them, and on the attorney level, on the system level, why it's happening, and court schedules. We heard a lot from attorneys about the challenges that are causing it. So we want to just look at it holistically, and luckily it did, as a statewide, we have that better view. So we're absolutely prioritizing that. So thank you.
Great. All right, thank you. And yes, I welcome Mr. Langford. This sounds incredibly helpful. All right, then let's move on to item number 7, because that one was just for discussion. I think this is Brenda going to take on NRS 180.430, which is the training and pipeline updates from her position.
Absolutely. Thank you, Chair. It's Brenda Roberts for the record.
We'll start with item 7A, which is a CLE compliance update. And this is the one where I have some information and then for possible action. And for those that aren't familiar, in December of 2023, the board passed a regulation that required every attorney providing indigent defense services to take 5 hours of CLE courses relevant to the provision of indigent defense services every year. And then by January 1st, they're supposed to send us a transcript from the state bar showing compliance with that. And this year, last year, we ended up at the board's direction, removing 11 attorneys, or I'm sorry, removing 12 attorneys for failing to comply with that. And these were attorneys that hadn't really taken a lot of cases for the most part. This year, right now, I have 26 attorneys who have failed to submit transcripts of compliance. Of those, 13 have not responded to any of the 4 emails that I've sent out, which are in your materials, asking to please do the transcript. And then of the other 13, I've had contact with them. Some that sort of dropped off the last few weeks, so I will be reaching back out to them. And then about 5 more that I'm still actively, I'm sending them CLE links so they can take them and then get their CLE credit and give me their transcript. So we're actively working on that. So it looks like we probably have about 13 people that could potentially be dropped from our roles for failure to comply. Last year, the board, we did give them a deadline of February, of the end of February is what the board had voted on. And then let them know, move into an active status, if they didn't get their CLEs into us. A few of those folks did then become active later in the year once they had a chance to catch up on their CLEs, but not all of them did. So I don't know. So one of the questions I want to ask is if the board want to do that again this year. I did take a look at the 13 that hadn't responded. Most of them don't have much of any cases. The ones that have a lot of cases tend to not have touched any of them in the last 30 days, which suggests that they are old cases that should have been closed probably. So they're not very active anyway on our list of attorneys. And then if the board does want to do that, then I would also ask, whether you'd want me then to remove the free Westlaw access that we offer to them. We pay for, but it's free to them. Justice text access is the same thing. Access to trial skills programs that we pay for. And then also, some of them are employees and contractors of counties. 2 of them are deputy public defenders who've never responded to my requests. Their supervisor just responded this week to tell me for the first time they're out on medical leave right now. So I don't know when they'd be able to come into compliance. They've given me no other information other than just the fact that they're on medical leave right now. And then whether we want to advise the counties that if folks are not active, but they're contractors or employees, should the department be reimbursing them for the cost of people that aren't qualified to represent indigent defendants? So those are sort of the action items that we ask the board to consider is whether you do want me again to give the attorneys, hey, you've got until a date certain. Let me know. I've called out to some of the attorneys in the past, and I can do that again just to make sure I'm not going through a spam filter, even though they all know this is an annual requirement, but not to flippantly release them from our list if they don't really want to be. So it's 2-part. Do you want me to do that? And then what repercussions, some of the repercussions, I guess.
I have a suggestion, Allison Jaffe.
Go ahead, Allison.
Thank you. I would suggest giving them 30 days from today to be qualified. And I think at this point, DIDS is doing so well and moving so well and really doing all the things that we've asked for over time. So I feel like lots of positive changes are being made. So I would rather, velvet hammer approach at this point. That would be my recommendation.
Great.
If I could suggest something, the DIDS conference is March 18th through the 20th, and that's free to any attorney that wants to attend, and they'd be able to get their credits at that time. I would suggest that the deadline be at the end of the conference. They don't take advantage of the conference, they probably aren't interested in continuing.
if they're able to make it, but
Yeah.
okay. Thank you, Mr. Sheik.
This is Jared Hickman. Just a couple of questions for Ms. Roberts. Are the 6 emails that you included materials, did they go out to all the attorneys, including the 13 that have not responded?
Yes, and so I didn't include the BCC list I had on that because, well, they're voluminous, but it did whittle down. The first one went to everyone on our list, and then as people replied, I took them off, so they weren't getting, thank you, Homa. So they weren't getting bombarded with emails from us. So every time, someone complied with the regulation, it went down, but it went down to every person on there. I also have looked, when it gets down to the end of December, early January, on the State Bar website, folks are supposed to update us with their contact information. They sometimes forget. So I did find 2 attorneys that had different emails on the State Bar website than what we had for them. So I emailed them new emails and I'm like, hey, we've been trying to get a hold of you. I still haven't heard back from those 2 attorneys.
In addition to those 6 emails of the 13 that just have not responded, have you reached out with, has the department reached out with via phone to those folks too?
I have not.
Okay.
I have not. I've not reached out to anyone on phone yet this year.
And then last year, you mentioned last year it was the end of February that they were given.
Yes. Yeah. Which is about 30 days from board meeting last year.
I think there's something to be said for consistency or a 30-day approach that Ms. Chaffee brought up.
Mm-hmm. And we're saying 30 days from today, right? That was what Allison said.
Yeah.
Okay. Other board member comments?
Was it 30 days from today, or were we entertaining 30 days at the end of the conference in case they get their CLEs then?
That's a good question.
I'll just, I guess, jump in. I'll note that last year the conference was much later in the year, so it wouldn't have been within, 30, I guess right now it's like 30, 40 days, 40, 43 days from today's date. Probably only 20 days of February. Don't make me do math, guys. So it would be, it wouldn't be too much of an extension to allow them to have till the end of the conference. Obviously, right, if they have a tough calendar, they might not make it for whatever reason, but that also gives the attorneys who are interested in remaining on the list additional time. I don't know how many we ended up, was it about half a dozen, I think, of the amount last year that were not on the list that have been reinstated on the list because they did comply?
Yeah, I think it was actually 7.
Okay, so a little more than half. So it could just be that some attorneys just get their CLE later in the year. We're certainly trying to offer a year round, and you can get all of it at the conference if anyone attends. We also have made available recordings from prior CLEs to all of these attorneys to ensure they can get compliant if they'd like to. There have occasionally been attorneys that indicate that they don't want to continue taking DIDS cases, so they don't intend to comply.
Sure.
And that happens occasionally. I think it'd be reasonable to give them until, just my opinion here, if everyone's willing to receive it as you'd like. I think given to the end of the conference would be a good deadline. It's also a way for any of them to get compliant for kind of 2 years worth of CLE, kind of more bang for your buck if they're showing up to the conference and getting into compliance. It also might give give Brenda some time if the board wants her to reach out by phone to the remaining individuals. We whittled down to a pretty short list, I think, to try and get a hold of them. Certainly for the 2 attorneys who might be on sick leave. Obviously, we don't know the nature of that sick leave. It could be catastrophic or something, and we don't want to penalize anybody, right, for having something happen to them rather than it. We're trying to hopefully be less of a that kind of a bureaucratic body and more of a supportive body for our members. So I think that makes sense. As for things like reimbursement, I think we should notify the counties before we take any kind of action about reimbursements at this point. I don't want to not reimburse the counties for something they couldn't have acted on to get their own attorneys into compliance. So certainly they're the ones that have contracts with their attorneys, or they're the employers of these attorneys. I would like them to have the opportunity to have some interaction with their employees or contractors before we start saying, you're in jeopardy of losing funding for one reason or another.
Last year, for the attorneys that did not ultimately respond, was the Westlaw access removed at that point?
We waited a couple months and they removed it.
Okay. And then one other clarification question: are there any attorneys from last year's list that are on this year's list?
No.
Okay.
Oh, no, they're not.
That's good news.
That is good news.
Yeah.
Eric Blakey, I would like to see if staff could maybe make phone contact with these attorneys. And then is now the time to make contact with the county to let them know that we're having a little bit of trouble with that attorney? And or do we need to wait a little bit longer for that? That's the two things.
But personally, this is Peter Handy. I think sooner, notifying the county sooner rather than later is always beneficial, right? Then they have a chance to work with their county management team and have direct contact with the attorneys that are involved. And maybe they have a better communication pathway than we do. Like Brenda said, sometimes we don't get updated on their most recent communication updates, and certainly they want to get paid by the county, so they're probably updating them somehow. So it might be a better way to get that information back to us. And again, it gives the counties more time to work with their people to try and resolve the problem on that end.
Homicide, for the record, I know a couple county contracts I've seen with attorneys actually just specifies that they have to be in good standing with the state bar, and they don't specifically say they have to be necessarily in good, exactly with did. So it could be a good heads up to them to start making sure they're putting that in there.
Yeah,
Is
they're
it
not in the
contract?
contract, a lot of them.
Some of them don't.
Okay, so we find out for sure. Yeah, and I'd recommend it to maybe get them until the end of March. I usually get the CLEs reported very quickly after the conference, and it takes the state bar a couple of days to get them uploaded to the transcript, and they kind of get the transcript and get it to me.
This is Eric Blakey, could you make the deadline March 31st? And then that also shuts down their access to the programs that they're connected to. Everything shuts down on April 1st.
Absolutely.
Not to be
Heads
confused
up
with
that
April Fool's Day.
Absolutely. I could do that.
I mean, that's a consideration too.
Okay, any more discussion from the board? Director Handy, do you have enough direction on this? I know we threw out some dates. Actually, this is an action item, so if somebody wants to try to meld all that into a motion, that would be helpful.
I would move that the department provides the non-responsive attorneys until March 31st to either submit their CLE, and if not, inactivation and removal of Westlaw and Justice Text access would accompany that. But in the meantime, I'd also ask that the department make phone call outreach to the attorneys and the counties if appropriate.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Hickman. Do we have a second to that motion?
This is Allison Jaffe, and I would second that motion.
Thank you, Ms. Jaffe. All right, any other further discussion from the board? All right, hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor of the motion on the floor, please say aye.
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 Any opposition? Thank you. Hearing none, I think we have good direction for the department. Thank you. All right. Let's move on to item number 8, which is the Davis litigation updates. I know that Professor Hernan is not here, so Peter, do you want to take that one?
Yeah, I'll just give a brief update. My understanding is the next report from the monitor might not come out until March. So we're obviously still providing as much information as we can and is needed to the monitor in the meantime. I did want to give like a brief update. As part of the amended consent judgment, we've been doing quarterly reporting for the NSPD workloads. Those are published and on our website. We've kind of taken a different approach to that than we have other reporting, because typically we're just reporting raw data about the number of hours that folks are submitting. And this time what we're doing is identifying the number of cases each of the attorneys in the office has to see if the workloads are adequately distributed. So it seems like too many reports probably, but there's one that's just, here's all the open cases that this attorney is assigned to. like as a snapshot on the day that report was run. One is the number of cases that have been open in both the last quarter and during the entirety of this fiscal year so far. And so we have those kind of 3 reports, and there are charts breaking out the total workload allocation for each of those new cases to ensure that there aren't being too many cases allocated to any one employee or contractor. There are a couple of easily identifiable contractors or employees, really it's contractors that have too many cases right now that are assigned. And some of that we can already done some background, some extra work to kind of understand why that is. One is Justin Clauser, who is a Douglas County contractor. He hasn't been assigned any new cases by the NSPD, is my understanding. So that caseload isn't interfering with any work that the NSPD is doing. The second is with Massey Mayo in Humboldt County. It looks like she has enough cases for 2 attorneys. That's because she does. We did confirm with them, they do have a second attorney that's working on those cases in their office. So when it's split across 2 attorneys, it's not an unreasonable workload. I worry that they are getting to a position where they might be spending to the extent of their contract before the end of the year based on the workload. So really it's important that more people get into the office in Humboldt County, or we engage more contractors to help shift some of that burden away from just Mansfield Mayo, especially because we know how much work they're doing in Lyon County as well. So right now the workloads look okay. Otherwise, there's some shifts within the office and some of the White Pine County cases. They still appear to be on trend for based on the Q1 reports and the Q1-2 reports to be on target for still having less than a full-time equivalent allocation of cases by the end of the fiscal year, which is great news. That means we have good staffing. I can take any questions, but before I take any questions, just a reminder that I think we skipped items B through E in the last item. So if we could do that after any questions on this item, then I just recommend we skip this item after Brenda's done with item E and go on to 9. At the chair's pleasure.
Yeah, sorry about that. Certainly. All right, so we're bumping back up. Or unless you had questions on
if
this
anybody
one.
has, if any of the board members have questions about the NSPD workload reporting.
I don't see anyone coming off mute. All right. Then thank you. We'll bump back up.
Okay, thank you, Chair. I know there's a lot of sour in my 7A, but 7s B through E are a lot sweeter, so I'm happy to get to that.
Sorry, we were talking about the conference and all the things. I thought we're good. All right.
Almost. So item B is our pipeline and LASSO update. This fiscal year, we've had 2 trigger or 2L applicants. Our LASSO program, for those who are new to the board, is a stipend program to encourage law students to get into our rural communities. 1L students, those who finished 1 year of law school, qualify for a $6,500 stipend to come and work for a semester or a summer in a rural law firm or public defender office. 2Ls get $10,500. Graduates get a stipend of $15,500 if they accept a job in a rural public defender office. And we, this is the first year we've been able to give out those silver level awards. We gave out 2 this year, and then the 2 triggers. And then we also have a training materials and time stipend. The bar exam is, for those who aren't attorneys, can take up your entire summer studying for it, at least historically. And you can't really work, you can't do anything other than buckle down to do a good job on the bar exam. So we give them $6,500 if they sit for the Nevada bar and are going to take a job with a rural office or attorney come fall. So we can have 5. It's a little less interesting than we've seen in the past. I think one of the biggest reasons is Professor Hanan at Boyd has been one of our biggest boosters and routing people into the LASSO program, and she's on sabbatical this year. So we don't have her. And then Boyd's externship coordinator has been very busy working at the supplemental practice program for the new bar exam that's coming out. So she hasn't had the time to really work with the students and direct them our way either. And then there's some structural hindrances to the silver awards, and that it's limited to people going into rural attorney offices. And we've had some of the contractors trying to bring those students in. We can't, the way that the award is written and the way that Supreme Court Rule 49.5 on graduate students is written, they can't qualify if they are not with a government entity. But steps that we are taking to help turn this around. Homa was able to attend UNR's pre-law conference last Friday and meet with some undergraduate students who are interested in going to the law school. We're continuing to work with the law schools, of course, and trying to branch out to law schools around us. We're trying now also to reach in to the undergrad students and get them into law school so that we can pull them out. That's sort of a long-term goal, but Boyd has a lot of applicants, but they're not turning out as many lawyers as really Nevada needs. So trying to get more there. John Lambros, who I don't believe is on the call with us today, has pitched a rural externship idea. And so he and I are going to get together and try to touch bases and haven't been able to yet to sort of flesh that out and maybe bring, again, some more of those law students out aside from the law school program and separate from the current externship program at the law school. And he might also help. We talked last year about partnering with the externship program to do a sort of rural Nevada road trip, get a group of law students and do a 1 week externship road trip around the rural areas, introducing the local judges and attorneys and some of the hidden sites. There's a lot of really neat things that if you don't get off the beaten path, off the main highway, you won't see, and kind of see if we can entice them out to the rural areas that way. Unfortunately, the coordinator there, Boyd, just did not have the time because of the new bar exam model. And so John may help with that as well. And then we're also trying to get into different career fairs to help spread the word about rural Nevada. A lot of the rural folks don't have time to go to Reno or to go to Las Vegas to try and recruit or other areas. So we're trying to help them with that. I'm going to one tomorrow. Boyd didn't notify us in time. We just found out last week about it. We already had plans for the one they're having this week. McGeorge Law School in Sacramento also has one this week that we're hoping to attend, but conflicts aren't preventing that, but we're trying to reach out that way as well. If there was any questions on that portion, I can move on to item C.
I'll throw in just for benefit of our new member, one of the students I talked to at UNR, Soma, was a high school senior from Fallon. So can you imagine how eager she is to attend a pre-law, wanting to go to law school? And I was telling her, you could go back home and work as a lawyer, but she was a little excited about the big city. So maybe, maybe we'll get it. Well, I gave her my card.
They always come home.
But I thought that was I was pretty excited, to have a high schooler already thinking about that. We want to make sure that their passion, is fed. And a lot of them had said they would consider defense. They just didn't know anybody doing it. So that was kind of an interesting eye opener.
Yeah, that was an interesting part of it, I think. The annual conference is March 18th to the 20th in Las Vegas. When I got my update a couple of weeks ago from the contractor that's helping us put it on, we already had over 50 registrants. So I'm excited. It's going to be another good year for us. And this will be the first time they're actually going to be able to record some of the sessions. Also the first year we're having breakout sessions. So to work on practice skills. So I'm really excited about this conference, trying some new things, a different kind of venue. So we'll get lots of feedback, I'm sure, at the end of it. People happy and people frustrated, things aren't the same, which is fine. Moving on then to item D, virtual training update. We've been waiting on the promised upgrade to the state's web platform since September 2025. We were sure that we were on the list to come online that month. And then the cyber attack happened and we haven't got there yet. So in the interim, what we're going to do on our current platform, we're going to remove the calendar of training, which has not been used since before I got here. And instead replace it with a list of topics that we've covered over the last 3 years, and then add a wish list form that folks can fill out if there's certain training they'd like us to do. I've actually got several emails over the last few weeks that, hey, I really use a training on. I'm like, okay, I'm adding it to my list of things to look into and try and bundle together as much as we can. So under the training we have in February, justice text training. And I think we're gonna be able to expand the number of attorneys that we offer that to. So that's very exciting. We have a lot of folks that have expressed interest, and also non-attorneys in offices. So we might be able to expand that a little bit. So we'll have the training on that and announce any expansions that we get into place. On March 12th, we have Godoy Forensics coming and doing a CLE on reviewing medical records and what really happened. We also have, and they were scheduled to come in February and do a training, but they had to postpone that. And the February training that we're now doing in April is acceptable medical practice for blood draws, and DUI cases especially is where this comes up a lot. And then in April, we have a tentatively scheduled CLE on juvenile competence, which is a little different from adult competence or competency. And Dr. Piasecki has offered to be part of a panel on that. We're trying to put the rest of the panel together. In May, I have spoken to Chris McGee at Forensic Digital Solutions. I might have those words mixed up. Anyway, as CLE on helping to manage experts on how to find experts and then communicate with them to ensure that using them properly and efficiently and effectively. In September, we're going to put on a two-day DNA CLE, also with Chris McGee in partnership with Washoe County. And I will try and work on having those recorded as well, because I know not everyone can make it to Washoe for 2 days, but we'll have to work with them on that. And then some unscheduled trainings that are also in the works. I've got a meeting next week to talk to an attorney about putting on an appeals training, really the duty to appeal, jurisdictional deadlines, how to appeal district court denials of appeals for misdemeanors or affirmations of appeals for misdemeanors. And that actually is a direct result of some complaints we've had about attorneys not really understanding some of the requirements in appeals. So that's coming directly out of our complaint program. I've also talked to someone about doing training on extraordinary writs. The appellate section of the state bar recently put one on that was for high level and a lot about civil writs. I want to do one that's really more for how defense attorneys can more effectively use extraordinary writs. And then also an ethics training on attorney billing. We had the Supreme Court case last year that sort of put a wrench in the works of how a lot of defense attorneys have structured their billing programs, and so they have to go to something different. So I can talk a little bit about that. And unfortunately, the professor that had wanted to put it on, she's currently out of the office with a sort of cryptic reply. So I'm not sure if we're going to be able to get that on this year. I'm hoping that she gets back to me when I reached out to her and see, and if not, we'll find somebody else that can do that. So that is my virtual training update. The last is training reimbursement. So we don't just put on trainings, but we also send people to trainings that we couldn't put on. The Capital Case Defense Seminar is coming up in February in San Diego. Right now, we're sponsoring 5 attorneys to go to that. We also have the Mountain Trial Skills Program, a 1-week intensive training program for defense attorneys. That's going to happen in Salt Lake City. We're sponsoring between 7 and 8 attorneys for that one. And then I'm also going to go and monitor or audit the trial program. I've never tried a case before, doing all appellate work. So excited to see that, and then also to be able to tell people, what it's about when we're doing this again next year. In June, the National Criminal Defense College is hosting one of its 2-week seminars, and or trial defense trainings, and we're sponsoring 1 attorney for that. And then in October, NACDL is putting on their DWI conference in Las Vegas, and I'm sponsoring an attorney for that, looks like. And now, if you don't have any questions, we're done with item 7.
Sort of training that they.
Any questions from the board on items B, C, D, E, or on item number 7? Thank you. That was really robust. It's amazing to hear how far we've come with trainings and conference and reimbursements, and it's impressive. Yes. Okay. Hearing no comments from the board or others, and that was for possible action, but I guess I'll look back to
that was just item A, was possible
yeah,
action.
that was A. That was okay, good. We did that, so we're good. All right. Now we're gonna skip, but we're just keeping you on your toes. We're gonna skip down to number 9, which is the Nevada State Public Defender status and update on Humboldt and White Pine offices. And I see Andrew Coates is with us in person, so I'd like to turn it over to him.
Well, thank you so much. Andrew Coates, Nevada State Public Defender. Not too much to say on White Pine, although things are moving definitely positively in a positive direction. We have 3 full-time attorneys, a contract for as-needed conflict cases or any overflow, which has not been an issue in terms of overflow on the caseload. So I can answer any questions regarding White Pine, but have really more, my update is on the Humboldt County, and I would characterize my update as very potentially positive. Of course, we have 1 contractor in place, Mansfield Mayo. My office is working some of the cases that they conflict off of. It hasn't been too many just yet, but we are helping out where we can. But I have a very, I would say, very likely potential contract to add. So that would bring us to 2 contractors. This contract would be with 1 attorney. So we're working on executing that, drafting the contract ASAP. Also, in terms of full-time employees, I have 3 applications for deputy public defender positions, and I have 3 positions open at least. So I will be hopefully interviewing. I've been in communication with them to keep them interested, but I will be doing more thorough interviews next week. And there we are. And also we are working with All-Star Recruitment, calling up on that to utilize that tool for national recruitment.
Great,
So,
thank you. I saw a couple of board members pop on. Do we have questions? Either look like Christy or maybe Franny.
It's Chris. I'm fine. Thank you.
Okay.
Madam Chair, I have a
Was that
question.
Joni?
It's Joni
Okay.
in Tonopah. Yeah.
Go ahead.
Andrew, did I hear you say we have 3 openings at least? Did you sneak that at least in there, or did I hear it?
I did say at least. I mean, technically we have 5 positions, but the Mansfield Mayo contract covers 2 of them.
Yeah.
And then we would have the other contractor. That will probably be a quicker moving process than the full-time attorney. So we'd like to get that in place to alleviate the Mansfield Mayo caseload. So we do have 3 official openings, though. I will say that if you don't count the contractors.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Joni. All right.
This is Jared Hickman. Just a quick question regarding your prospective contractor and applications. Are they local candidates or are they coming from out of county?
Oh, great question. Thank you. The prospective contractor would be local. Well, probably more in Reno, but wants to work in Winnemucca. The 3 applicants, 2 are out of state. Currently working in a California public defender's office. And the 3rd is a Henderson-based attorney who's interested in moving up to the north. So I'm not looking, I mean,
promising.
I'm not going to turn down the applicants. If you're in Las Vegas and you want to stay there and commute, that's fine, but that's not the ideal arrangement.
Yeah, think.
Well, it's promising, so thank you.
Thank you.
All right, any further board questions on comments number 9 from our state public defender? Questions or comments? That is for discussion only. So we will move on to item number 10, which is our workload compliance update on A through F counties listed on the agenda. I think Peter's going to walk us through that one.
Yeah, I was going to go through this again, but I realized we just did all these counties in December.
Okay.
And there's principally no update, right? Churchill County has the same number. I did hear from Derek Lopez, though, that Douglas County might be adding a contractor. That would be huge. Right now, they have 6 contractors. They're full-time contracts, and they have 12 kind of part-time contractors that they kind of rotated through as a 7 kind of pseudo contractors, my understanding. If they're looking at hiring a 7th contractor and having those 12 part-time, that certainly looks a lot closer to that 8.8 that's needed by the county and contemplating the workload. That would be phenomenal news if that's occurring. I don't have any update for Eureka, Lander, Lion, Mineral. Those are functionally the same. I didn't include NIDE because we talked about them earlier, but 11 contractors. And I do think they're earnestly considering the 12, and we'll pursue that one before the end of the fiscal year, which would bring them in line with their need for 12 attorneys under the workload standard. I'm really impressed actually that how much has happened in just the last 3 or 4 months across the counties where we've had a lot of issues. Churchill County with their big hiring drive, Nye County adding so many contractors. If Douglas is adding another contractor, like there's been a lot of movement, a lot of cooperation from the counties. I'd really like to recognize the county cooperation in this happening.
In that recognition vein, I can't remember the number that you had previously said that Churchill County added to their attorney roster. Could you cover that again?
I think they're at 4 full-time attorneys in the PD's office. There's 1 full-time attorney in the alternate PD's office. They have 1 conflict counsel. I think they were looking at adding another person. I don't remember. I think they have a full-time intern in the PD's office. We don't count that towards the workload, but hopefully that person could stay on when their internship ended and they'd have another full-time person in the office. The workload does contemplate 8.4 attorneys for Churchill County, but having come from just two, just over 6 months ago, a huge increase and fantastic progress for them.
Thank you. I see Brian Filter came off mute from Douglas. Did you want to say something, sir?
Yeah, Madam Chair, if I could, I just wanted to fill in a little bit on that. Yeah, to follow up on Derrickson and what Peter was just saying, we did add Jason Gunnell as a sixth as of January 1. We've just started the budgeting process for 2026-27, but I have gotten approval from the county manager and the chief financial officer to add a seventh full contract to my attorney list. And it's pending BOCC approval, but I'm pretty sure that's going to go through with their approval. So we should be looking very good by, that'll start July 1, but we should be, I think, in substantial compliance at that point because we also have hourly defenders. We have specialty court defender. I cover about 40% of the in custody arraignments. So we've gotten there, I think, with that, assuming that comes to fruition.
Excellent.
Also very positive.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you. All right. And are there any other comments or congratulatory remarks for the work done in the counties listed on item number 10? Any board
I was
members?
going to add this. Hold on. The Douglas County, Derek and I were able to attend. They had like a holiday gathering, and it's really cool that even though they're disparate attorneys, they felt like a team, and it was just a neat culture. And I think Mr. Filter is really doing something novel out there.
Great. Excellent. All right. And that was just for discussion. We are chomping through here at item number 11, which is our upcoming meetings. The March, April, May, and June meetings are listed. Do you want to nail some of those down, or what are you guys looking for action on this guy?
So on the first one, we kind of ran into a snag. Apparently, we can't bring our own AV equipment into the conference facility, so we can't put ourselves into the virtual space that we normally conduct these meetings in. So if everybody wants to show up in person, we can find a spot and we can get that nailed down. The Court of Appeals is a beautiful venue and they usually have a lot of space. So if the board members are willing, we certainly have the funding available and we have staff that can help you with make any travel arrangements. We could do it in person. And then you'd also have a chance to stop by and see the conference. Yeah, really see how the attorneys are interacting, see what the training looks like, visit one of the venues, and that might give you a much better idea of what we're doing with these training. Also get you an idea of who we're working with on a day-to-day basis. I think it'd be a great opportunity. It would just be nailing down that time and the location portion since we can't hold it in the same conference space. If there's interest in doing that, we can get that out quickly, probably. The Court of Appeals has been pretty good in the past about saying this is a date and time that'll work for that building. And there are also, it's Las Vegas. There are a lot of places we could be, and we can certainly arrange the transportation.
Great. I was planning on coming in person, so it'll be great to know time and location. But
yes,
we'll get that.
Time, I think if we want to do it in the morning, that way the conference doesn't start until the afternoon on the 18th. So if we want to do the morning of the 18th, something like 9 or 10 in the morning, we can nail down the time and then we can get a location out as soon as we get it booked.
Do we have other board members that are planning on attending in person that will need to travel? Because it might be good to push to 10 a.m. if that's the case.
This is Eric Blakey. We have a county meeting that day, and it's scheduled right now at 1:15. So, I could come into Zoom if you had Zoom. If not, I could be absent, or if you made it later, it'd have to be in the evening, right? The earliest I would be able to get there would be like 6.
Right.
This is Allison Jaffe. I could also make a Zoom meeting in the morning. I'll be at Lake Tahoe in another conference.
This is Jared Hickman. I believe I am planning on attending in person as my better half will also be a conference attendee.
Great.
This is Lorena, and I'm going to try to attend in person.
Thanks, Elena. All right, well, why don't we do this? Let's, once we nail down a time or think we're getting closer, maybe we can send out a message to the board to see who's planning to come. We can make accommodations that way, but it would be nice to see everybody in live and in person, or those that we can.
And what we can do, Madam Chair, is we can send out polls for the days and times for April and May to the members so that we can nail down dates and times. I'm pretty sure we don't need action on the item to set those dates, but our dad could confirm that for us.
That meeting dates?
Todd? Todd, do we need action or do we have robust enough discussion that we're going to be communicating on the times for the conference or for the meeting that'll happen during the conference on the 18th, and then we'll be polling for the April and May meetings?
Yeah, Madam Chair, this is Senior DAC Todd Weiss. Setting of meetings is administrative. It doesn't need to be done by board vote.
Great. All right, thank you.
So
Further
we'll get
discussion.
those polls out there sooner rather than later, so that we've given everyone enough lead time.
Okay. Great. Any other questions, comments on the upcoming meetings? All right.
This, Chris, just double check. The March one will be in conjunction with the training.
With the conference.
With the conference, I'm sorry.
Yeah, in Vegas. Yep.
And then, yeah, go ahead.
No, I was just saying they're working on a virtual option, but in person as well.
Okay. And you'll let us know what time. I have a trauma board meeting, but if it's flexible, I can drop it depending on the timing then. And then April is still.
We're going to send out a poll for April and May to the board.
Okay,
yeah,
perfect.
If that works.
Yeah.
Great. Thank you. Any other questions on the upcoming calendars? We want to make sure to get those locked in. All right. Then if there is no other discussion, we'll move into the final public comment. Is there anyone from the public that would like to make a comment for any matter that's within the jurisdiction of this public body?
Madam Chair?
Yes, Ms. Easley.
I am not a member of the public, obviously, but there really wasn't any place else to bring this up. And I'm going to direct my remark to everybody. But this is something that Peter and I have discussed. There are two public defenders in Nye County that I am aware of who have filed to run against both district court judges. And one of those public defenders reached out to me this week to let me know that he in fact did file. And I know that I'm aware that Peter sent out an email to the public defenders reminding them that they had certain obligations under the ethics law to notify their clients. And Peter, I was just wondering if we are following up on that or if we have any intent to ask the public defenders who have filed for some kind of confirmation that they're aware of their obligations under the law to their indigent clients.
So I guess two parts. One is when it comes to the ethical portion, that's not our purview, right? Anything having to do with running or having the ethics, that's the state bar or state government ethics.
Okay.
But for we do it. I have in part of the email I sent out, I advise them, right, that there's a component that is the criminal justice standards say, you need to notify your client and obtain informed consent from them. And that needs to be continuing throughout the representation. The second part, that's really the ethical portion from our end, is if for some reason it creates a conflict during this process, they need to remember to keep their duty of confidentiality, their duty of loyalty to their clients in how they navigate that process. We'd refer them to the state bar, of course, to getting advice on the ethical issues. But of course, we're here to answer any questions as best we can, but they have to understand we're not the experts. We're also not the ones that would be potentially adversarial to them if there is an ethics issue that arises from it. I have received confirmation of that email from at least two attorneys that have indicated they're running for judge. One of them is in Nye County. One of them also sent over like a draft notice and waiver that he intended on modifying and using. And we had some discussions about language that he might want to include or not include. I let him know that he wouldn't be filing that right. That's just a document between him and his client that didn't have to do with any court proceedings. So it seems like from the ones I'm communicating with, they're taking it seriously. They intend to continue to zealously advocate on behalf of their clients and work with their clients so that they understand what's happening and potential ramifications.
Thank you, Joni. That came actually from the board, the listserv, the Indigent Defense listserv. And I remember it was on January 16th for those that needed to reference back to that email. So thank you for sending that. It was helpful. Thanks for bringing it up, Joni.
And this is something I'll just add that the judges, the sitting judges, any judge running or someone interested in being a judge also has judicial ethics obligations about how they handle and disclose things. So again, that wouldn't be us. It would, go through whatever paths, the judicial ethics, that sort of thing too. So it's not just the attorneys, who are representing clients who are running, it's also the judges who are sitting.
Great. Public comment. Any public comment? We still have 28 people online. So if there is anyone, please raise your hand before I formally adjourn us. All right, so no further public comment. And that leads us to item number 13, which is adjournment. And we'll look forward to information coming out of the department on upcoming meetings.
Thank you.
Good job,
Thanks,
Madam Chair.
everyone. Thank you to the board and to staff. Take care.
We're trying to get you.